we go. That's going on. Okay, we do have a quorum. So CRC calling the meeting to order. It is 6:18 on October 8th. And first we'll have a roll call. So we'll go down the list. Armin LaPointe, not here. Jan Norman, not here. Abby Goldberg is here.
Oh, sorry, I'm here.
That's all right. Margaret Kirstein is not here. Mary Lou Splain, not here. Alyssa is here. Jane Hamill, I'm here. Emily Britton is here. Rebecca Passo is here. Patty's not here. And Deb is here. Okay. So next is the reading and approval of minutes. Quite a few. I'll try to go fast. I wasn't here. So the meeting was called to order at 6:20. Rebecca Passo was acting chair. Motion by Patty to accept the minutes, seconded by Margaret. Public speak time. Rebecca referred to correspondence received from Lindsay Rothschild about their committee fair. Now that's already gone by, so I don't think we have to talk about it. But it's an issue that will come up later in today's agenda about what do we reach out to, how do we connect with these kind of town events. And that was okay. And then the new business was dealing with electronic subscriptions or notices, because some people in the community have expressed a desire to be able to connect to us via online. And that was submitted to the mayor's office, and the response I understand was that it doesn't exist yet, and if it did exist, it would come through the mayor's office.
And I have an update on that.
Okay,
I'll share.
and we'll share on that. Then our request to the DA liaison, that's also in the process. She couldn't make it tonight, but that's, she will try the next time. Continuing business, implicit bias, there's lots to talk about that. There were several books that were mentioned that we could read, and that's still an ongoing discussion here. Then B, continuing discussions of the evolution of the committee. That's going to go on for quite a while. We're going to be doing that at each time. And then a motion was made by Abby to adjourn, seconded by Jan. Time was 7:18. Wow, you guys went late. And that was it. Okay. Any issues with these minutes?
No.
Does anyone motion to accept the minutes?
I motion.
Who seconds? Okay.
Just
That's
rotate.
that? All right, so that way, okay, then do we approve the minutes? All in favor? Aye, unanimous approval of the minutes. I will get them to the clerk. Oh, that's right. There was a discussion about potholes, so I have a whole, the physics of potholes.
I don't think that's on our agenda.
It's not on our agenda yet, but it was, it came up in discussions over. Okay, so, all right. Now, we get to public speak. So tonight we have our superintendent of schools and the mayor.
Yes.
And we will allow the mayor to speak first, because she's the...
Sure. I'll sit here so that, as far as the questions for this committee, or announcements or things, we have a city Facebook page now. So you can, it sounds silly, you can email Tracy and or Lindsay and they'll get it up. And if people want to, they can direct message. So if folks want to direct message back and want details on an event or are trying to get to you guys, they can do it that way. So that's an update. So
Can I ask a question, Gordon?
of course.
Now, the specific roles of both of those people you just mentioned, can
Yeah.
you clarify like what their exact
Yeah.
roles?
So Tracy is the specific admin support for the committee.
Okay.
So if there's stuff that needs to be printed, if there, the committee invites the school resource officer or somebody from the DA's office, Tracy would make sure that Jane is connecting with the right person or connect the two of them. And she follows up on that, and any formal posting of meetings or additional material that should go up for meetings, or if there was an event sponsored by the committee, Tracy would kind of get the word out along with people's personal, if they have lists.
Okay.
Lindsay runs my office and is a backup to Tracy. So, and Lindsay usually is the one on the phone. She watches the Facebook page, and she has a regular working schedule, like a 7:30 to 3:30 schedule. So you're likely to be able to get a quick answer from Lindsay, or she'll say, hey, I need to get this in front of Tracy. And Tracy's in the office Tuesdays and Thursdays.
Tuesdays and Thursdays.
That's her
So Lindsay's title is exactly what?
municipal clerk,
Municipal clerk. And Tracy's title is exactly what?
principal clerk.
Okay. Thank you. It's helpful to know.
Picture.
I'm trying to get over
Yeah, I can see that.
Doing very well.
That's great.
Wow, you're flying.
See, this way, if I don't try to do it all at the same time, that's good. She can share.
No, yeah, there you go. Oh, no, you guys are, I was saying to Superintendent Leclerc, you guys are very, compared to some of the school building committee meetings
Rule
that are.
followers. We're not messing around.
Right, yeah,
We don't wanna
no,
get in
very,
That's right.
I was doing overkill rather than underkill,
I-
so let's see what we do here.
all in. So what I have before everyone, or I'm passing out, and this is, I thought maybe the committee would, like to know that it's going on, that I'm sponsoring it, and maybe want to joint sponsor it, or just know about it. And actually, Superintendent might be super interested in this as well. So I had an opportunity to go to Israel, and it was a very rich, intense trip. One of the folks that we worked with a lot and got a lot of context was the Abraham Initiatives, and that is a joint Israeli-Palestinian-led kind of think tank that has a very action focused, outcome. So think tank, and then what can actually work, and in they go to, Gaza or Tel Aviv or Jerusalem or whatnot, and work with existing not-for-profits and some for-profits to bring issues and actually interactions between Israelis and Palestinians around common challenges they have. So water's a big one, education's a big one. Community policing is a big one, and how to work within those with those confines, and what the conversation should be. The initiative is not something that is pushing or political to the point of one state, two state, any particular agenda, other than very focused on action-based things. In Nazareth, they're a part of an Israeli Arab teenage hockey team that actually now tours the world from Israel. They're very, very good. They've gone to University of Maine and whatnot. This group, the Abraham Initiative, is coming to the States, to Massachusetts, and is a part of a bigger conference in Boston, but would like to come west. And we talked a little bit about this committee when I was over in Israel, and we have a regular conference call. So they're going to be here on Friday, November 1st, 11 to 12. The email that covers this is from the Jewish Community Relations Committee in Boston that sponsored our trip, the municipal trip over to of Israel. It's interesting that JCRC doesn't have any direct or formal contact with the Abraham initiatives and have somewhat of a different philosophy, but are very supportive and their work is impressive. And just their language around how folks live next to each other when that's the only thing they have in common, and have a higher quality of life than they did, say, before they started talking. I have included in here, and I just didn't get my act together to put in a PDF and save a tree, their mission and vision, the methodology, history of just who they are, and of course you can go on the website and see it all. So I have not put the formal invitation or, we haven't put anything out as far as it is going. We're not going to invite the press, but if they show up at the park, so be it. But this is more of really being able to interact with them and listen to what they have to say. I am going to invite representatives from the fire and the police department. Members of a synagogue on Prospect Street are very interested in it, and some members of the Springfield Muslim, the mosque down there who live here would like to come, but they might end up going to the Springfield one. It depends what they're gonna do. I put Mill 180 on it. I haven't talked to them because I'm waiting to hear about food requirements for the event, and Eli will get back to me. So it shows some of the topics they might cover when they're here, and there are other topics or initiatives or very specific things you'd like to hear about. I would like to hear, so we can get it back. All of the topics that you see listed here are certainly, we'll start with this is where we are in Israel, but then relate it back to those very beginning steps of this is what can be done in other communities and other countries that they have worked for. So I guess my asks for this group, 3 asks. One, take a look at the topics in the website and see in your discussions if there are any questions that can be narrowed down or you think a little more specific. 2, please consider joining us. We'll send out an RSVP so we can figure out the name, the number of people. And then 3, for the committee to consider co-sponsoring. And the co-sponsoring would just be named on the RSVP and the little flyer we'll do to it. There's nothing, the food, the speakers, everything else is taken care of. But I thought from the last conversation I was a part here so long ago, I thought there might be some interest, but also respect that you guys are still forming what you want to get involved. But if nothing else, take a look at the questions, and if you can attend, it's kind of a sticky time. We tried to push to the afternoon, but they need to get going to, I don't know, Arkansas or wherever they're going next. They are going somewhere like Arkansas, I forget what they're, Little Rock, right? Little Rock's in there. So,
That brings us right down into what we got on responses from the mayor's office. Okay, what's the procedure for us co-sponsor? How do we?
I would
we
just
say yes.
I mean, I would like a vote from the body, and then just an email to Tracy because she's coordinating this.
So I can add this to today's new business agenda.
Yep, or you can vote on it now.
Oh,
if you want. It's up to
okay.
you.
Since we're in charge here, we're the.
Well, does that
Right.
work in public speak? Does it need to come on? I mean, maybe our agenda item was enough to cover it. Let me see, I gotta look at
So
the agenda.
I would defer to
No.
Deb, because Deb has gone through a bazillion. She was the chair of the school committee,
I
and
think,
did all sorts of
I
things.
missed last meeting, but 2 meetings ago, we were told that yes, we can discuss things
Yeah.
in the public speak.
Oh, yeah.
So if we can discuss them, I don't see why we couldn't actually vote on it. It's part of the meeting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think it's
Yeah.
just allowing us to make a decision and move
Yeah.
on, so it seems silly to.
Yeah. rather than to move it to the
Right.
end of the meeting.
And the committees have latitude.
Yeah,
It's not like an appropriation for money or,
right, but it just,
deciding
it
to
just
build a
connects
football field.
us to something that's
yeah,
really what we're trying to do.
absolutely.
So, all right, I don't think I have to go through the motions, but let's take a vote. Does anyone object to co-sponsoring?
You have to
This-
make ask somebody to make a motion.
Okay. Does would anyone make a motion to vote on whether we become a sponsor or
I'll
not?
make a motion to co-sponsor the event.
Okay, second?
Second the
And you
motion.
seconded, okay. All in favor?
Can I just abstain? Am I
Sure.
allowed to abstain?
Sure,
Just because
And-
I would want to, I just want to read more about it.
Sure.
But
yeah.
I trust that you found a really good initiative.
Yeah, no, I mean, that's,
Yeah, that's fine.
just note the.
I looked it up after you mentioned it.
Oh,
So.
So I think
I know a
that's
little
what.
about it.
okay.
Seems like a
That's
great
good.
organization.
So it was 5 in favor though, right?
5 in favor, 5 to 1.
One
So-
abstention.
Yes, so that is passed, that we are going to co-sponsor.
Are they doing like a whole tour?
They are,
Yeah.
so they're in Boston, now Springfield, Easthampton, they're going to, I think, Little Rock. They're on a big tour, but it's tight, so that's one of the reasons, well, it's probably the biggest reason why we didn't, you know, they had no push. I think they're getting, like, they have to be on a plane, you know, at 4 o'clock or something in Boston. Maybe they're going back, maybe this is the end of the tour.
Right.
Yeah, but fascinating.
Yeah. Especially, I think if they can relate the process and the conflicts to local
Yeah.
issues. I think of course people care about,
Mhm.
but they also
Yeah.
want to see how do we resolve tensions within our own communities.
Mhm.
And they have a pretty, I shouldn't say pretty, they have a really good idea of what community policing means here. And the overall, like when Homeland Security does community policing and the Association of Police. So it's not as if they understand like what's going on here. When we say community policing and how is it different than what they have been fostering over in Israel. So there's some, yeah, it's really fascinating stuff. So. Excellent, well, thank you. And again, please, if there are other questions,
Yeah, I think we're all gonna go read
yeah,
on that.
no, and if the questions come up or whatnot, so we'll start putting that out.
How do we send our favorite topics to
Tracy,
Tracy?
Yeah.
Okay.
Jane or Tracy or both.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
And let them know if we plan to attend.
Yes, we'll probably we're putting together a little like e-invite, whatnot, but if, you know, just email.
It's a tough time, it's on a Friday.
Yeah, I mean, it's not a super, and we just have to figure out, you know, how much room to have and stuff like that, so.
It'd be nice if like workplaces could bring their employees or something, like support, you know, make a little field trip out of it.
We're gonna talk to the chamber too.
That's
and a
what I
lot
was
of the-
thinking.
Yeah, the
Yeah.
chamber ambassadors and whatnot.
People could be encouraged.
That might be encouraged. And the school department.
School,
Now invited.
police and fire, yeah.
Yeah. So, that's what I have for the group. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
I will be in touch with like the invite and whatnot, and please send the specific questions. It really helps them. They really want to know like what you guys, so they can prepare
Mhm.
and kind of make
Yeah, it's better.
similar,
Yep.
than walking in. I mean, those are just suggestions. Excellent.
Great.
Thank you.
Thank
Thank you
you.
all for serving again.
Oh, sure.
I'm gonna go home and nurse my sore throat.
Oh, no.
Yeah.
Oh,
Tis
dear.
the season.
Oh,
Tis the
Okay.
season.
So, now,
Excellent, thank you.
all right, so now the chair recognizes Dr. Leclerc.
Do you want me to come up?
Yes, please do, yes. Because otherwise the camera would be looking at the back of your head.
Oh, okay. Hi, everybody.
Hi, and thank you for coming.
Oh, no problem. Thank you for inviting me. So I have just a little kind of some notes of some things that we've had going on in the schools. And I guess I'll preface this by saying we're on a journey in the schools. You know, this is not something, when we have discussions about equity and diversity and inclusion, it's not something that we feel we're going to someday solve and there'll be an end of the road. It's a journey. So there's always new things that we're trying, we're exploring, new conversations we're having, and I think that most of the people around this table, probably everyone in Easthampton, knows that we had an event that occurred a few years ago that was related to racial issues at the high school. And that, I think, was a big starting point for us in this discussion, in this awakening. And as a result of that time, the Attorney General's office became involved in the schools. And their perspective or their lens was really to look at addressing the issues that resulted from that event that had to do with the way we were disciplining students, particularly students of minority. But really, when we started to do this work, it's about so much more than just our discipline practices. So the Attorney General's memorandum of agreement that we entered into voluntarily with them, it was a tool, but it's not the only thing we're striving to accomplish. We actually had a conversation with them. We're in the third year of a 3-year agreement with the Attorney General's office, and we've pretty much completed everything that they articulated in the agreement, as far as adjusting policies and changing some of our discipline practices and the way we look at our discipline data and some of the things that we find in our discipline data, and how we address that. But we have learned so much more going through the process. So it's about a lot more for us. We've taken a look at our district mission and our vision for our students. It had the word equal in it. And in our world today, it's not about equal, it's about equity. So we had to make a conscious decision to shift. And I thought, in case people in this committee have not seen a visual of what we're talking about, this is an image that most of my administrators have, because we can no longer offer the same to everyone. The same is being equal.
Right.
Being equitable is giving people what they need. And not everybody gets the same all at once. You know, right now, for example, Center and Pepin schools are in turnaround status from the Department of Education. So we've had to take a serious look at how we're allocating resources and say they need to get more than Maple. Now, that's unfair to the people at Maple, but Maple students are doing really well. Center Pepin students are not, so they need more supports. So we've had to have difficult conversations. And so a lot of our work has shifted our thinking. We've taken a look at the values that we have in the district, and we've realigned our values. Our values are around expecting every student to be kind, respectful, and supportive, creating communities that are nurturing, inclusive, and equitable for all, developing engaged learners that persevere even when there are challenges. So we've taken a look at what we hold near and dear to us. Kind of boots on the ground, we've taken a look at our discipline practices and we've addressed those discipline issues that we had. And is it perfect yet? No. We've had a conversation with the Attorney General's office, and their feeling is that we're going a layer deeper now, because they said to us, what's happening in the school offices is being dealt with appropriately. They have no concerns about that, but they're saying Now you need to go back and start looking at unconscious bias. Are teachers sending certain students down to the office more than others? So now we have to kind of peel back that layer, and so we're starting to do that work. We're looking at our curriculum, the books that students read and have available to them, the instructional practices we have. So those are all much deeper and in addition to, that goes way beyond the Attorney General's work, but we're looking at that just the same. We're having discussions with Dr. Elizabeth Pryor out of Smith College, and I don't know if anyone here has ever heard of her. Her father was Richard Pryor, the comedian, and we're working with her around the use of the N-word in instruction. And we have developed a document with her guidance around the use of the N-word, because there are many pieces of classic literature that are taught at the high school level, like, for example, To Kill a Mockingbird, and how do we use that text in a meaningful, inclusive way. There are historical, authentic documents that talk about slavery in not so pleasant terms, and of course we have Kelly Brown that, you know, if you know Kelly Brown at the high school, she sticks to her authentic texts, and that gets her a lot of, you know, a lot of prizes. So we've had some really challenging conversations around what we're doing, and I think that because of the issue that we had, we're having those conversations years before other schools are starting to embark on that path. And we actually had Dr. Pryor present to the middle school and the high school staff at the opening of school, and the conversations, the dialogue that she was having with our staff, she actually came up to us at the end and she said, "Your staff is so much more prepared to have difficult conversations," she said, "than most of the schools I work with." She said they're not even ready to have this dialogue, but I think because we've been doing so much work, doing so much training, having so many discussions, addressing the issue every time it comes up, and really trying to make headway in so many pieces of the puzzle that we're working on, I think that it's having some really positive results. We also have created equity committees. We have 2 equity committees in our district. We have a pre-K through 8 equity committee, and we have a 9 through 12 equity committee. The 9 through 12 equity committee is a year older. It's in its 3rd year. But when I came on board last summer, not this past summer, but the summer before, I said, well, it doesn't make sense to only start having discussions about equity when you get into the high school. There are equity discussions that we need to have from the time children enter our schools, so we all have common expectations. So we started the pre-K through 8 equity committee last year. Those committees are made up of faculty, administration, parents. We do have students on both of our committees. We have high school students on the high school one, and the pre-K through 8 committee has middle school students on it. But they're great committees, and they make, they do surveys, they are looking at a lot of our data, such as our MCAS data, which does surprisingly ask climate questions about school climate. And we also have something from the Department of Ed called vocal data, which tells us about school climate. So they're analyzing that data. They're doing student surveys, particularly at the high school level. And they are coming up with recommendations for things that we need to adjust in our practice. And we're taking those recommendations and identifying the priorities of the recommendations that they've made. So that's a committee that continues to really make a lot of headway there. We do that in collaboration with the Collaborative in Northampton. They have a facilitator that works with us. And so there are a lot of really great things happening. I'm really very proud of the work that's been happening in Easthampton. We're working with the Department of Ed to analyze our high school literature texts for bias. It's a pilot program with the Department of Ed. So there's not anything that we won't jump into and have a discussion about. Of course, you know, we're challenged financially. We do have a line item. We did develop a line item for our diversity work this year in our budget, and it was the first time that that's happened. But it meant that we did make some layoffs in the district in order to fund diversity, but we felt that it was really essential that we make that happen. So we continue to do trainings, not just at the high school, around implicit bias and unconscious bias, but we are doing trainings at the other levels as well. We're doing a lot of work with the students. We had a group of students last year that actually went to a training up in Canada, and they came back to kind of be leaders in their building through a group called NCCJ, which is the National Conference on something, out of Connecticut. And so we have a contract with them, and they come in and do work with our students and our faculty at the high school. So we've been really trying to make strides in this area. But again, I would say to you that we don't have it all figured out. This is an ongoing dialogue, and you know, there are things that we're still trying to do better. And you know, for us, it's about growth. It's about persevering. That's what we're trying to model for our students. It's one of our core values, and we're really trying to model for kids that, you know, we're going to keep coming at this, and we're going to continuously try to do a better job. And so that's what we've been up to.
Well, that's fantastic. So you know that this committee was spawned
Yes.
from that
Yes.
Attorney General's
Yes.
program and all that stuff. So a couple of things that I already thought. First of all, is there anything that this committee can do to help you? And I can also see that, you know, when you brought up the implicit bias training, now we've been talking about this implicit bias for several weeks now, and we really haven't gotten anywhere, as far as I can see from all the notes.
Yeah, we haven't decided what to do.
What to do with it, what we're going to
yeah.
do. But if there's an actual training that
We have
someone
a
could,
training plan this year.
if we could see that,
Yeah.
maybe
Yeah, and
incorporate something from it.
Yeah, I'm happy. I mean, when we just had Dr. Pryor here, if I had known this group, I would have reached out to you. I did invite the school committee to the Dr. Pryor presentation, and I invited the city council. And the mayor, of course, was invited. But yeah, anytime we do trainings, I'm happy if I can get a list of emails, I'm happy to invite people to those trainings. I mean, they are, we have some really great trainers that come in, and they're doing some really great work. The NCCJ, I believe, is doing our unconscious bias training. But I will check with Julianne Levin, who is our diversity liaison associated with central office upstairs. And we also have Asher Hamilton at the high school. And Asher is our family engagement coordinator at the high school. And so she runs a lot of family engagement events, particularly for minority groups, like we're celebrating Latino Heritage Month in October, and she does a lot of things around that. We have a diversity center at the high school. I don't know if you know that, but we have a diversity center, and we have student interns that work with Asher. They do a lot of really cool things. Last year they did a mentoring program for minority students. They started off to be just a program for young African American men at the high school, putting them with college students through a program at UMass. And some of the young African-American females in the building said, what about us? It's not equal, it's not equitable, you know, they weren't getting something, so they opened it up and made it for males and females. And so that we started that pilot program last year, and that was successful. There's a lot of great things that the kids are doing up there. And she's really trying to promote their student activism. And a lot of those kids are kids that are also on the equity committee. And you know, our equity committees meet every month. And if anyone would like to be a part of that work, you're absolutely, I can have Julianne share with this group the schedule of meetings. But yeah, they're open to anyone that wants to come in and watch, or observe, or participate.
Are they also part of the open meeting law system?
No, they're
So
more
they're
like
not
a training. No,
Okay.
they're not
Okay, so they're all,
televised. And they're usually in the high school library, and sometimes, because it's at night, and you know, they're kids,
Right.
usually we go like 5:30 to 7, so
Right.
we'll like have pizza and candy, and we usually do like an icebreaker kind of thing, and then we start talking about some of the challenges that, whatever the, you know, the kind of the kids bring to the forefront,
Right.
we start talking about, and we start making plans. We've spent the first 2 months in the summer and in September just talking about the priorities that resulted from all their data collection last year, and how we were going to prioritize them this year. But you know, the kids are very intuitive, and they brought up one of the challenges they put on the table for us is sometimes committees can tend to work in isolation, and it's like they feel like their equity committee kind of sometimes crosses lines with the National NHS Society, and it's a lot of it is the same kids that want to be on multiple things, and it makes me also think of this group, because I don't think you're aware of the work we're doing, and we're
No.
certainly not aware of the work that you're doing, and so
Yeah.
it might help if, you know, there was some collaboration, you know, amongst the groups.
Part of our being is to be a conduit to the different factions
Yeah.
of the community,
Right,
but to bring it out to the public
yeah,
so that everybody can see it, and that's why we're televised and anybody can look at these videos. So if you feel, or if there's someone from any of those committees that felt it, that they would want to bring those issues to a public forum, this could be the
Right.
committee to do it
Right.
at just like you're doing. And we'd be,
Or hosting a training for, you
Yeah.
know, people, members of the community at
Mhm.
large, or.
absolutely.
yeah,
Yeah.
so we can be that conduit, and that's what we're supposed to be, so.
Yeah,
So
I think that
we
sounds
yeah, so
great.
I think this connection is great, and we should really make big use of it.
Mhm.
May I ask Julia's last name again?
Julianne Levin, Levin,
Julianne.
Julianne, Anne,
Okay.
and she is the director of curriculum for the district. So she is very immersed in the curriculum work that we're doing around looking at our literature, our textbooks, our curriculum programs with an eye towards bias. She's very immersed in that work. She also serves as our district diversity coordinator. And the person that works under her at the high school is Asher Hamilton. And Asher came on board specifically as a result of the Attorney General's memorandum. So Asher is beginning her third year here in the district, and she works, she doesn't quite work full-time, but she works shortened days, like maybe 6-hour days at the high school, and she pushes into classes. She works with programs that we have at the high school, like the Diversity Club that we have at the high school, which is an after-school, group of high school students that do various things. She works with the administration. She works on the equity, she participates in the equity committees. So all of our administrators have sat at some point on the equity committees. We try not to make it administrator heavy because we really want to try and put more of a focus on the parents and the students. We have a new principal at the high school, and Bill Evans, I don't know if anyone has met Bill yet. So he just started this summer, and he has really jumped right in to the equity work, and he is actually leading the high school equity committee. So not just participating in the committee, but leading it, because he really wants to have ownership of that work at the high school, and wants to make sure that he's just well versed on all of the challenges that we've been facing. So so we've been, we've done a lot of work on policies. We've really done some work shifting our thinking for our district improvement plan. We've adjusted our bullying prevention plan. We redid our whole bullying prevention plan with community input. We did a survey around that. We invited all the members of the city council, the student council, the school councils on board.
In this
So we've done a
case,
lot of work.
I'm not sure. I was just asked if we were supposed to have a limit to public speaking.
Oh, I'm sorry.
But
I
no,
can be done,
but
done,
in your
I'm
case,
done.
since you were invited guest, and,
Cut me off.
yeah.
Oh,
I'm
should
sure
I
you'll have
invite
a-
a guest?
Well,
I'm sorry. I
it
didn't
didn't,
know that.
it was on the new business, but I didn't get the,
Oh.
I didn't get the,
Agenda out.
well, I did get it out, but I didn't get the reply from the mayor's office whether you were coming or not.
Oh.
You may have told her,
I
but
did, yeah.
she didn't tell
Yeah.
me.
No, so that's all I wanted to
But
say.
that's good. Oh, no, that was great. And yeah, I hope we can work together. That's exactly what.
Yeah, and I'm right
We wanna
upstairs.
I think it's so important to know that that's going on.
Yeah.
Yes.
Or, you know,
Yeah.
I hear,
yeah.
Yeah.
I just like I never would have imagined that thought and training is going into our school system. I just think that is so
Yeah.
awesome. So
Yeah,
Mhm.
that's
thank you
great.
for your work.
Yeah,
But
there's a
thank you
lot
so
going
much.
on. Well, it's a lot of people that are doing a lot of things, and like I said, we're not gonna get to an end point
Yeah.
if we're doing this work correctly. It's not, for us, it's more than just ticking the boxes on the Attorney General's memorandum. And, I've said that verbally to them, and I think people in the community feel, some people have said, well, they feel that I'm not taking that seriously enough, but I think it needs to be more than just that. I think that there's so much more than just what was outlined. We've done that.
Yeah.
We've done everything that they've asked. So now we need to continue the work. We need to go deeper. So
Okay.
that's what we're really focused on.
All right. And we will do our best to
So please
stay
reach out
up
to
to
me.
date with it. Yep.
Let me
And
know
we'll
if
reach
there's
out.
anything you need.
Yep. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Have a great night.
You too. You too. All right.
I have to leave, but I do want to say that.
Yes, yes.
Quick, I had a note that the next meeting, is the second Tuesday of election day. I believe.
Oh, it is? Is that a problem? I guess.
No, I'm just letting you know, because it might be, I can't. come.
November 12th.
I mean, if it's the second, or is it the first? I don't remember, I just.
We're always the second Tuesday,
Okay.
Yeah, that would be the 12th.
the
So
12th.
is that election day, or is election day the week before? That's what I just wanted to.
check it out. Election.
I think it's the week before.
It just might be an issue for some
2019.
people, so.
It's a lot to juggle after working voting.
Well, or
Yeah.
just.
No, that's November 5th.
Oh, good, okay, then don't worry
Yeah.
about it.
Mhm.
I just was flagging it, because I can
Okay.
see that being an issue.
And
Okay.
do we lose our quorum then if we lose our?
I guess we do, so,
Sorry.
It is.
so before you go,
Yeah.
is there anything else that you've seen on this agenda that you want to remark about? Or you want to bring up any issues at all?
No, I thought that was really helpful, though.
I think that was a great.
And I would love to have her
was-
back
you know,
once we
that-
have formulated.
Yeah, that was a suggestion by the mayor to get her into us.
I think it's so important, like to co-sponsor. Yes, we're supporting implicit bias
Right.
training. So.
Exactly, yeah. And everybody, so everyone go look up this Abraham Initiatives. That sounds really interesting to me.
It is really interesting, and I would take her seriously on coming up with some, if we have thoughts about what we
Yes,
focus
yes.
on. Because I know from giving talks, it's so much easier to do a good talk
Yeah.
if people tell you what they want you to talk about. Otherwise, you're just like, I
All
don't
right.
know anything.
Okay, well then, since we're gonna lose our quorum, do I have a motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn.
Okay. Second?
Second.
All right,
Okay.
then, meeting's adjourned, 7:04.
Okay.
Hi, everyone.